Namaste everybody. This is a message from Kalki and his consort Vaalai from Shambhala, the holy mountain of Shambhala, the paradise of gods, the pure and blissful land of yogis. This is a very important message being delivered to the public through this video from Shambhala, the most important place, on a very important date. Today is the date of Aadi Pooram, which is a very auspicious day. Now, a little background. So, Kalki, the last incarnation, the last avatar of Vishnu. From a Puranic perspective, all of us are familiar with who Kalki is. So basically, he is this fierce avatar of God who comes here to protect Dharma, to punish people who are not following Dharma. So he is shown with a sword, riding on a horse, very fierce looking. So basically he's a person who polices, like he's policing around and maintaining law and order. So that is the Puranic perspective of Kalki. Now, from a yogic point of view, the perspective and reality of Kalki is very, very different. So, to explain that, let us start with understanding about the yogic perspective of reality itself. Now, all the Vedas, Upanishads talk about the fact that Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Na Aparaha, which is to say that Brahman, gods and the Supreme Almighty is real. Jagat is false. The world is an illusion, it is Maya, it is Mithya, it is false. Now, if the world is false, and Adi Shankara, for example, knew of this fact, he also mentions the same phrase, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. And so he knows that the whole world is unreal, it is like a dream, so it lacks reality. All the characters in the world, all the other people you see, places, things, everything is unreal. So, if he knows everything is not real, then why is he spending so much of time and effort in traveling to different places, debating with different people, and then establishing Sanatana Dharma by defeating Buddhists, Jains, and even other Hindus also? So, why is he doing that? If he knows that the world is unreal, then for whom is he putting this Dharma? So from the yogic perspective, what we need to understand is the world is a dream, which is obviously unreal. But the dreamer of that dream, which is basically you, the self, that is very much real. So what does that mean? It means that you are projecting yourself onto this world. So this world is nothing but a projection, like a dream. When you go to sleep at night, your mind is processing through a lot of thoughts, feelings, memories, and it is projecting that onto a screen like a movie. And that is what you see as a dream. So just like that, what you call as the world is a dream. It is your own mind, your own self projecting onto the world. which means if there is anything good or dharmic in the world, it is a projection of your own self, because you are seeing the dream, you are creating the dream. If you are seeing something adharmic, then that also is a projection of your own self. So you are seeing your own flaws or incompleteness, inconsistencies that are inside yourself, projected outside onto the world, and so you are seeing it as adharma, and you are mistaking that the adharma comes from other people. It is actually coming from you. So transforming yourself, because see, as I told you, you, the dreamer, is real. So we may not bother about the world, but we should certainly bother about our own self. And we need to correct the flaws that are in ourselves. So that is what is the correct yogic meaning of adharma, and removing adharma and establishing dharma. So this is a major viewpoint of reality as given by the yogic view, which is very, very different from the Puranic view of reality. So with that being said, who is Kalki? Is Kalki a person who is going to be a policeman for the world? No. Because if you look at the list of avatars, by and large, the consensus is to include Buddha as the 9th avatar of Vishnu. Adi Shankara has included it. A lot of texts like the Venkateshwara Sahasranamam includes it. And even, for example, in the statue of Ayodhya, which they have established, also features Buddha as the 9th avatar. So in that way, if you look at the evolution of avatars, Vamana was a very, very proactive avatar. He roamed all the 3 worlds by himself. Now Parashurama, he stayed in his own world, but he proactively destroyed and killed 21 generations of Kshatriyas. So a lot of activity. Rama, again, himself made the long walk from Ayodhya to Lanka. Lot of activity. Krishna, activity is a little reduced. Compared to Vamana, Parashurama and Rama have reduced activity. And compared to them, Krishna has even more reduced activity because he is not fighting the Mahabharata. Others are doing it. He is just enabling it. Buddha, the activity is even more reduced because he has not killed a single asura, or he has done nothing. All he did was sit and meditate and teach people how to meditate. So the trend is very clear. From actively involving, participating and fighting, the trend goes towards more passive, peaceful, meditative process. So continuing that evolution, what do you think Kalki is? Is he going to be active as a warrior, as a fighter, physically fighting wars? No. He is a mystic. He is a ascended master. He is a yogi, the highest of the yogis, the highest of the ascended masters, the king and guru of all the ascended masters. And Kalki is being called as the immortal ruler. It doesn't mean that he'll never die. It actually means, so it does not mean that he is a ruler who is immortal, who will never die. No. What it means is, he is a ruler of the immortals. Immortals here meaning gods, devas, devi devatas. who have drank Amritam and have become immortal. So, those are immortals, and he is the ruler of those immortals. That is why Kalki is called the immortal ruler. And as such, this Kalki resides, or is the king of this holy place called Shambhala, because that is where the gods live, the ascended masters, the great Siddhas, Yogis, Rishis, Munis, and everybody like that live. This is the heaven, basically. So basically, Shambhala is nothing but what is called in Vedas as Sumeru, or the mountain Meru. So in the Vedic texts, this mountain called Meru is mentioned as the center of the entire universe. It is supposed to be the place where all the gods lived. God and goddesses, everybody lives here, along with the Rishis, Siddhas, Munis, and Yogis. And they are said to control the entire world from this point. So that is why this location is called as the center of the entire universe. So this same Meru is Shambhala. And what you are seeing right now in the video is this same place called Shambhala, which is where I am recording as I am climbing this mountain and I am about to reach the peak. Now, so in the yogic definition, who exactly is Kalki? Yes, he is an ascended master. He is the guru of gurus. He is the person who has attained yogic completion, because the entire avatara cycle is actually about evolution. So, for example, we start with Matsya, an aquatic animal, a fish. Then we go to Kurma, which is an amphibian, a land and water living creature, a tortoise. Then Varaha, a land animal. Narsimha, half animal, half human. Vamana, a dwarf human. And then you got Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, and Buddha, who are all humans, but showing their evolution of emotions, mind, and intellect. Kalki is also a human who shows the next stage of evolution. So what is that next stage of evolution? So Kalki is an avatara. Now the word avatara in Sanskrit means to descend. So it is basically God descending on earth as a human being to show the world how things are happening. Now, but Kalki is also said that he is the last avatara. So what is the last avatara? So the last avatara is, it means the descent has finished. There is no more descent. There is no more avatara. There is nobody anymore who is going to descend. Which means the ascension is going to start. If there is no more descent, that obviously means there is an ascent, right? So that is where you get the word ascended masters, master of ascension. How to ascend? So Kalki is a human. So as an avatara, he comes to the lowest point because he is the last avatara. So at every stage, God has descended to a level. Kalki has descended to the lowest level, the level of a normal human being with no external signs of miracles or superpowers or magic or siddhis, nothing. Just a normal human being studying and living a normal life, going to a normal school, college, employment, living a normal life with normal technology, normal habits, hobbies, just like everybody else. So descended to that level of normalcy, and then he has ascended from that level to the highest level. This is what they say by Kali Yuga being the lowest of the yugas and Satya Yuga being the highest of the yugas. So Kalki has made the journey from the lowest to the highest. So he has made the journey of the complete ascension. And he has attained that status where he has reached Shambhala. Even though you may be aware that throughout history a lot of people have been searching for Shambhala, a lot of rishis, yogis, munis, even for example Adolf Hitler. A lot of people searched for the Shambhala, they were not able to find. Kalki, without having any of those superpowers or government or the facilities that Germany had, he doesn't have anything, just a normal human being. But from that point he ascended with the yogic powers, with the yogic practice and mastery, to the point that he has attained Shambhala, the peak of which you are seeing right here. This is the peak of Shambhala. So he has ascended the peak, and he has himself shown by example how this can be achieved, and also serves as an example for other people, where by learning this same technique of complete ascension, those people can also ascend and complete their human evolution. Because when you ascend, when you do the complete yogic ascension that Kalki did, you will reach the pinnacle of human evolution. There is nothing more left to evolve. This is the highest evolved state in the entire universe, and you will reach that state. So that is called complete ascension, and that is what is termed as Kalki Yoga. So the message of Vaalai Kalki, and in this auspicious day, here, right here in the peak of Shambhala, is to open up the secrets and techniques of Kalki Yoga and share this knowledge with people, so that those who are interested and those who make a long-term commitment can practice this yoga, this Kalki Yoga of complete ascension. What is required here is, so is there any eligibility for this? No, it is a course that will be taught. It can be learnt as a course, as with proper initiation. The only requirement here is a commitment, because this is a lifelong process or a lifelong state of living, a state of being. So that requires a very deep and intense commitment. So with that being said, now I shall give you a brief context and overview about Kalki Yoga, or the Yoga of Complete Ascension. So what do we mean by saying that there is adharma or flaws inside us, or that there is we are not fully evolved? What does that mean? What it means is, see, if there is, so completeness, complete evolution or complete ascension means Purnatvam, Purna. And if there is completeness is not there, then there is a deficiency. And if there is a deficiency, we will try to fulfill it, or we will try to complete it and attain completeness of evolution. We will try to fill in that deficiency with whatever has to be filled. So what does that mean? What that means is we will have desires, needs and wants. So all of the great philosophers and enlightened masters of the past have all focused on this topic called desire. For example, Buddha says desire is the root of all evil. So Desires come because there is something incomplete in us, and we want it to be filled, we want it to be complete. Then there is a desire. So desire for enjoyment, desire for pleasure, desire for human intimacy, desire for knowledge, desire for clarity, desire for spirituality. All these are desires. Even desire for liberation is also a desire. So these desires, what they show is that inside us, certain things are incomplete. So that is the problem. Now, what we do is we try to fill the incompleteness, fill the void, or fill the missing parts from outside. So for example, let's say human intimacy or friendship, companionship, we desire from outside. So we search for people who can be good partners, good friends, good relatives, and we engage. But what we need to understand is they also have their own incompleteness. So we are in search of companionship, friendship, and we put our heart and soul into that relationship that we form because we want that. We have that as a high priority in our life, so we are trying to fill that void with that person. Now they are not perfect, they also have their own incompleteness. So they may be struggling to fill the incompleteness in their life, which may be completely different from yours. And because of that struggle, they may not be able to fully reciprocate the love, energy and intensity that you put into this relationship. Then what happens is people have conflicts, fights, trust issues, suspicions. You know what happens. Like all the things that make a relationship go sour. Similarly, finance. So when you start expecting finance, resources from outside world, then there's always an uncertainty, instability. Even if you are in the most secure of jobs and careers, there is always the uncertainty that one fine day you'll be fired. And with that in mind, even if you're earning a lot of money from this job, you will never be able to enjoy it completely, because every moment you enjoy the finance, at the back of your head you will always be thinking that at some point this source of finance may disappear. So the moment you look to fill your incompleteness from outside, you will definitely land into problems. Now, but what we also need to understand from the yogic point of view is that we are all Atmas. The Jeevatma, we are all Jeevatmas who is a part of Paramatma. And Paramatma is supposed to be complete, not just complete, infinite. Infinite in resources, infinite in bliss, infinite in happiness, infinite in everything. So we being Jeevatma also are supposed to be infinite, because a part of infinity is still infinity. Now, so for example, infinity divided by say 8 billion people. Answer is still infinity. Infinity divided by 8 billion is still infinity. So each of us is infinite. We have that infinite potential within us. So we have to, so whatever is the void and incompleteness that we want to fill in, instead of looking at outside, we look at inside and fill it from that infinite source which is inside us, which is our own Atma. So that is the yogic point. Obviously, when all the incompleteness are filled up, all the adharma changes to dharma. So your perspective of life changes. And not just that, your actions change, your thoughts change. And when your thoughts change, the projection that you make onto the world, the dream, also changes. And so you will also notice a change in the external world around you. just by changing or filling your own incompleteness. So that is how, in the yogic context, we maintain dharma. We establish dharma. Now, so we are all familiar with the concept of 7 chakras, kundalini and all that. But actually, the reality is that there are 12 chakras inside us. And each chakra is the residence of a particular god. So, for example, the root chakra, Muladhara, is the first chakra, and the god who resides there is Mahalakshmi, in the yogic sense, in her 1800 form as Lakshmi Durga. Then you have got the joy chakra, which is the genital chakra, ruled by Shiva Shakti, Shiva in the form of Nagalingam, and Shakti in the form of Nagadevi, who is called Renuka or Mariamma or Shitala, whatever. And then comes the Swadhisthana chakra, ruled by Muruga or Skanda. Then comes the solar plexus, Manipura chakra, which is ruled by Saraswati Devi. And then you have got the spirit chakra, the sternum chakra, ruled by Shasta. Then you have got the Anahata chakra, the heart, ruled by goddess Parvati, in her form as Mahadevi or Jeshta. Then you have got the chest chakra or the spirit chakra, ruled by Guru, in the form of Dattatreya or Sai Baba, whatever. Then you have got the throat chakra, Vishuddhi chakra, ruled by Vishnu, Mahavishnu, in his form as Kurma Avatara. Then you have got the third eye, Agnya chakra, which is ruled by Ganapati. Then you have got the psychic chakra. So the psychic chakra is ruled by Devi Mahakali in her form as Pratyangara or Atharvana Bhadrakali. Then you have got the higher mental chakra, which is ruled by Rudra in the form as Hanuman. And finally you have the crown chakra at the top of your head, Sahasrara, which is ruled by Surya, Aditya or Indra, whatever you want to call it. Now, I know this list is probably different from what you hear in the normal yogic context. The positioning of gods are different, but this is the reality of Shambhala and the reality that Kalki himself has mastered and is teaching the others. The 12 chakra system is the complete and correct system of chakras. That is why everything in nature follows the 12 system, like 12 months in a year, 12 rashis of the zodiac, 12 chakras of Carnatic music. So the 12 chakra system is very, very similar to the 12 chakras of Carnatic music, and they are interconnected also. So anyway, so that's a brief overview of the chakra system. But what we have to understand is, in this chakra system, the gods are not absolute, but actually they are portals. So for example, Lakshmi, the Muladhara chakra, is not a goddess as an absolute entity who keeps giving you wealth and resources, but actually she is a portal who opens the gate so that you can access the infinite resources that you yourself have as the Atma. She is just the gatekeeper of that particular portal. So like that, all the 12 gods that I have mentioned right now are the gatekeepers, the portals of your own Atma, because all the infinite, all the resources, everything comes from, ultimately from your own Atma, not from the gods. They come from your own Atma through the gods. And Vaalai and Kalki are the rulers of these 12 gods. So that is why he is called as the immortal ruler. So with that being said, so this Kalki Yoga is basically a system of meditation on the 12 chakras. a particular way of meditation that can be learned with proper initiation and all that. Now, how to do that is by following the yogic steps of dharana, dhyana and samadhi. So dharana means a particular way of visualizing the gods and goddesses in each chakra, and dhyana is holding on to that thought, holding on to that visualization and ignoring any other thoughts that might come in between. And samadhi is, so when you hold on to these thoughts for a reasonable period of time, your brain will enter into a state of sleep where that visualization becomes blurred and vanishes into a pure light form. So by converting the visualizations into pure light, which is basically converting sagunam to nirgunam, you attain the state of oneness with that God, which is called samadhi. So that process will be taught, and by the process of doing this dharana, dhyana and samadhi in all the 12 chakras every single day as a daily practice, what happens is the portals are opened and your desires and needs, which will keep varying day to day, are all getting filled from inside you. So that what happens is, after that, when you start living your daily life, after doing this preferably early in the morning, as you go through the entire day, you will come across situations which will interact with those 12 areas of your life. At that time, what happens is, so for example, let us say money or resources, wealth. Now, if you are living a normal life, you are obviously going to expect money and resources to come from outside you. So somebody giving you a job, somebody, so what you will understand or what you will think is that your employer is the one who is holding the control, and he can stop this at any point of time. So there will always be an uncertainty and fear in the way you handle your money. Now, but internally, if you have unlocked the portals and Lakshmi, then what happens is you give that control to Lakshmi, because you basically understand that this employer is a part of this world who is nothing but a projection of your own Atma. So the dream is being run by your Atma. It is being controlled by your own Atma. So Lakshmi will make you realize that, and you will place the entire control on Lakshmi, and you will understand that the money is not being controlled by your employer but by Lakshmi, who will keep giving you money. So that opens up the flow of resources from within you, and even though Lakshmi will still control people outside you and make the money flow via those people, but still the control is within you. Lakshmi is within you. So if she decides, she can change this money source from this person to another person, but the money will keep flowing. Then you will have the confidence that Lakshmi will always keep on giving you money. So now your source of money is from within you and not from outside you. Then you will start to get more and more confidence. At that point, if somebody outside, so if you have activated that, and then during the day somebody outside comes and gives you money, now you will no longer be afraid that this money may end or the money source may end. Actually, you will be confident that the money source is going to sustain somehow or the other. With that confidence, you will be able to enjoy the money you get to its completion without fear, without worry, without uncertainty. So this same thing will apply to all areas of your life: health, relationships, everything. So when you start living your life like that, with the maximum enjoyment, with worryless enjoyment of every single area of your life, that is what you call as complete evolution. So that is what it means by complete ascension or complete evolution, and the yoga through which you attain that is called the Yoga of Complete Ascension or Kalki Yoga. Now, with that being said, there is one very important understanding in the Kalki Yoga, So, in the Siddha context, and so all of this, what I am telling you about the Yoga of Complete Ascension, Kalki Yoga and all that, was taught to Kalki himself by Parashurama, the Guru of Kalki, through various sets of coded messages. Now, one of the other teachings of Parashurama is that this yoga has to be done as a couple, as a married couple. Now, when I say married couple, it does not mean a physical marriage, it means a spiritual marriage. So, whether you are physically single or married, it doesn't matter. But you have a spiritual consort. Each of us who is born here physically has a spiritual consort. So, if you identify as a male, there is a female, or if you identify as a female, there is a male, or whatever the way it is, there is a spiritual consort for you. And that is what we usually call as Ishta Devata and all that. So, how does this work? How is this? What is the theory behind this? Let me explain. So, in the Siddha literature, in the beginning there was empty space, just space, Akasha, and all the creation starts from Akasha. So, what happens is this Akasha is infinite, it is vast, empty space. So, imagine a room with empty, like just air, a room full of air, nothing else. Now, if you take a container, okay, an empty container, put a lid on it and put it in the room. So, now what happens is there are two airs or two spaces, the space inside the container and the space outside the container. So, what that means is, so when a body, a human being is being created, what happens is the space which is just the one single entity now becomes two, the space inside us and the space outside us. So, the space outside us is called Akasha, the space inside us is called Andam, which is a Tamil word for Brahmandam. So, this is called Andam, the space inside us, the Akasha which is inside us is called Andam. And from there, the Panchabhutas like Vayu, Jalam, Agni, all are being created, and that forms various organs of our body. So, that created material body is called Pindam or Pindandam. So, Pindam is the material part of our body, Prithvi, Jalam, Vayu and Agni, and Andam is the Akasha or empty space in our body. Now, but the space inside our body can interact with the space outside our body through certain openings in our body, such as, for example, our nose. So, prana. So, why is prana given so much importance in yoga is because it is how the easiest way by which the space inside our body interacts with the space outside our body. So, that is why prana is seen as the connecting link between Andam and Akasha. Now, this Andam, so this Akasha by itself has a creative potential because it is what created everything. So, which means the Andam, which is also nothing but Akasham itself, has the exact same creative potential as the Akasha. So, if the Akasha is the Paramatma, so you are the Jeevatma who has the same creative energy but inside you. So, that Andam which is inside you, that empty space with creative energy which is inside you, is nothing but your spiritual consort. Since it is space, it has no form. It is, imagine that as an invisible person without a form, but it has thoughts, it has feelings, it has everything. And wherever you go, it is with you. Your consort is always with you, he or she. So if you are eating, she will also eat. If you are sleeping, she will also sleep. If you are traveling, she will also travel. She is always with you, always beside you, but in an invisible form. So by No, so that is, so by understanding, appreciating, and starting to live with your spiritual consort, you are activating the Andam. So when Andam and Pindam both are activated, only then you will be able to activate those 12 chakras and access your full energy and resources of infiniteness from your Atma. Now, a spiritual marriage with that spiritual consort of yours, so this is known in the Buddha traditions as Mahamudra, which is again derived from Hindu tradition. In fact, the Buddhist tradition which follows this itself is called as Yogachara. So this concept of Mahamudra, which is a spiritual consort, is a very important practice in Yogachara. So who is this? So that is how we get the term called Yogini. Yogini is the spiritual consort of a person. So who is this spiritual consort? If you have an Ishtadevata, obviously that Ishtadevata is your spiritual consort. For example, Mirabai, Andal had Krishna as their spiritual consort. So you can have your own spiritual consort if you have an Ishtadevata. If you don't have an Ishtadevata, you can choose one based on whichever gender you identify with, and based on whichever gender you want your consort to be, you can choose. Now, if you want help in choosing a consort and identifying which god is supposed to be your favorite god, the simplest way is to look at your own name, because your name is derived from the name of some god. So for example, if your name is Maheshwar, for example, obviously Maheshwar is the name of Shiva. So your name carries the power of Shiva within you. So you are, as a Jeevatma, one small portion of that great Maheshwara, Shiva himself. And that is why you are named as Maheshwar. So you can identify yourself with Maheshwar, with Shiva, as a small amsha of Shiva, which means your spiritual consort will be an amsha of Shakti, Parvati. So that way you can choose Devi as your Ishtadevata and your spiritual consort. And the spiritual wedding, like you are married for life with your consort, because that is nothing but your own Andam. Now, it doesn't matter if you are physically married, your spiritual relationship has nothing to do with your physical relationship. Both can continue side by side, because this is completely on a different level. So, in fact, ancient scriptures, if you look at it, the wife of a husband is called Dharma Patni. So, it's not just Patni, it is Dharma Patni. So, the Dharma portion is added to it, which means she is a Patni by Dharma, which means there is a Dharma, which means your own spirituality and hence your spiritual consort, and also there is a Patni, your physical wife. So, this concept always existed throughout history. All the great yogis, Siddhas of the past, like Agastya or Vasishta, they all had exactly followed this practice, which of course is very much required for yoga. And so the first stage in Kalki Yoga is to identify your spiritual consort, start engaging with your spiritual consort, communicate a lot with it, involve your spiritual consort in every single activity that you do, even physical activities. Even an activity like, for example, going to a movie or going to a mall can be done with your physical consort and spiritual consort as well. So by engaging 24 hours of your life constantly with your spiritual consort, you develop bhakti, and then you become eligible to enter the 12 chakras. So what happens is, the portals or the various gods that I mentioned about they are not gods. They are nothing but your own physical consort, taking the form of those gods. Because there's only one God for you, and that is your own under your own physical consort. So at every stage, you become the, it's like Kashi Vishwanath, Annapurna. So Vishwanath, who is the God of gods, Lord Shiva himself, comes in the form of a person begging for alms, and Annapurneshwari, his spiritual consort, gives him food, gives him resources and blessings. So that way, you enter each and every chakra as a person begging for alms, begging for resources, or begging for the portals to be opened. And it is your own spiritual consort who takes the form of these gods to open the portals and give you whatever the energy and resources that come from that particular chakra. So by doing that, so the first step is a spiritual wedding. The second step is in understanding the chakras and the devatas that reside within there, and how to meditate on them, visualize them and all that. The third stage is the dharana, dhyana, samadhi process of converting each chakra from their saguna form to their nirguna form, and accessing and tapping the raw energy of each chakra. The fourth level is when you have actually completed all the 12 and you are in that level of ascended masters and join the family of Vaalai Kalki as their child. So if Vaalai is the spiritual consort of Kalki, the ruler of this Shambhala, when the point you have attained full ascension, you become a child of Shambhala, and in fact you become a Kalki yourself. So that is the 4 levels of Kalki Yoga, the Yoga of Complete Ascension, which was taught by Parashurama to Kalki. So this set of 4 is also, so Parashurama taught this to Kalki by means of a verse that he quoted from the scriptures. Particularly the scripture is Tirutondar Puranam, also called Periya Puranam in Tamil, written by Sekkirar. So in that there is a section called Tirumalai Sargam, where Tirumalai represents or refers to Kailash, or nothing but Sumeru or Shambhala, whichever you want to call it. And reflected, so he is talking about the events of or the glories of this place Shambhala, but reflected in a location called Tiruvarur, which is Sriman Nagaram. And actually, so this section is about, it's composed in Tiruvarur, but talks about Meru or Shambhala. And Parashurama taught Kalki this entire system in the same place of Tiruvarur. Now, what happened? Or let me just recite those 4 lines. Needi Madhavar Nenjil Polindana. So the first step is this Madhavar. Madhavar is the name of Vishnu, but referencing Lakshmi, Ma Tava, or the Lakshmi who is in constant tapas to Vishnu. So this represents the spiritual marriage or the spiritual consort of Vishnu being Lakshmi, or of you finding your own spiritual consort. And that is referenced as Niti, the correct form of Dharma and Niti. Then Vedi Adavar Tamai Vedipana. So the second step is Vedi, which is Veda, understanding. And Vedam is nothing but understanding the 12 chakras, the 12 gods and the 12 powers that are hidden within it. Then Jyotiyai Yerum Jyotiyul Jyotiye. So this Jyoti is nothing but the Nirguna form, or the pure light of the chakras that you will unlock by doing the dharana, dhyana, samadhi in each stage of the 12 chakras. So this combined form of dharana, dhyana and samadhi is called samyama. So the samyama will be done in each chakra. And finally it says Aadi Malayan Kana Alavina. So that stage of Parameshwara or Parabrahma, the absolute God, which even Brahma and Vishnu were not able to find the extremities. That ultimate, the Shambhala, the highest Shambhala which nobody is able to find, which is so high, so pure and so blissful, it says you will reach that stage of complete ascension and complete mastery. So these are the 4 lines that Parashurama has taught to Kalki, and this is the overview of the Yoga of Complete Ascension or Kalki Yoga that is being shared as a message by Vaalai Kalki from Shambhala on this auspicious day today. With that, I shall conclude this video, and here is a view of the peak of Shambhala. Om Tat Sat.